thanks for joining me. In my recent videos, I brought you along to enjoy some of the beautiful fall weather that we're having here in the southwest of Turkey, and today's video will be no different. If you're ever planning to explore the southwest of Turkey, I personally think that this is the best time of year to do so. On this day, we took a short trip from Bodrum up to the ancient city of Miletus. This ancient city is located in the province of Aydın, near Turkey's western Aegean coast. The historical site is near the modern town of Balat, which is roughly halfway between Bodrum and Izmir. Upon arriving at the historical site, you'll see a museum situated just on the left, and we popped in quickly to check it out. The museum is small and simple, but it was informative, especially if you're unfamiliar with the history of the area. It housed artifacts not only found here at Miletus, but also from a few other sites nearby. What I enjoyed most, though, is that right next to the museum, under the shade of pines, there were all sorts of ancient remnants just sitting out in a little garden. It's almost as if there were too many ancient treasures unearthed and the excesses were just being stored here. It's hard to believe now, but the ancient city of Miletus was once situated on a harbor, and the large theater that greets you upon entering the site would have been overlooking the water. I'm sure it was a beautiful sight at sunset. Originally, the Hellenistic theater would have seated over 5,000, but it was replaced during Roman times by this much larger structure that you see now. We had the place entirely to ourselves to admire, which made it extra special. I visited many ancient theaters now similar to this at other archaeological sites, but I haven't been to one where these back passageways were open to walk through. It was a really neat feeling to be able to meander through these arched stone walkways and think about those who once walked before us. I wondered what their life was like back then and what sort of show brought them to the theater. At the top of the hill where the theater is situated, you can still see walls from the fortified citadel constructed in the 7th century AD. Most of the walls have been demolished in the 20th century, but luckily a few remain that you can still admire. This open-air museum of Miletus currently covers about 5 square kilometers, and you'll be able to find remnants of buildings from various time periods. Miletus was once considered one of the most prosperous of the Greek cities and an important trade hub since it was located along the water. But besides its commercial importance, it was also culturally rich, especially with philosophers. Many well-known philosophers came from Miletus, but probably the most well-known is Thales. Although to the novice eye like my own, this building could easily fit in with the rest of the ruins here at Miletus, it actually is much newer in comparison. Amongst many of the Greek and Roman buildings that you'll see here, these Turkish baths, thought to be from roughly the 15th century, were a real treat to explore, and once I got inside, I was really able to see the differences that made this particular building stand out from the others. The site is quite large and spread out, so it was definitely a great way to get a little exercise in and some fresh air. There are occasionally signs pointing you in the direction of certain areas and plaques providing some historical information on the remnants that you're looking at. The paths to walk along aren't always the most well defined, so we felt free to stroll along at a leisurely pace on this lovely October day. And besides a few people that we saw at the entrance, we ran across only one other person the entire time that we were out here. It truly felt like we had the whole place to ourselves to explore. Sadly, over the centuries, the harbor silted up, and this began the downfall of this once thriving city. At the far end of the historical site sits the Ilyas Bey complex, and this area was a surprising hit with me because of how well it's preserved and the interesting details that are visible here. There are remnants of a few buildings, including an old madrasa, baths, and a mosque. The marble mosque, built in the 1400s, has a brick dome that is deceivingly small from the outside, but its size can definitely be felt when inside. The building is simple in shape, but if you look closely, the details are really impressive and unlike those that I've seen at other historical mosques. The geometric motifs in particular are great examples of Seljuk architecture. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this little video. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to bring you a little piece of Turkey, even if you aren't able to visit in person. And if you'd like to see more from my perspective as an American living in Turkey, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and giving this video a thumbs up. Until next time, thanks!